Everyone. So today we do the histology of the large intestine. The learning objectives for which are that at the end of the lecture, the students should be able to discuss the histological structure of different parts of the colon, the appendix, and the anorectal junction. So basically, the large intestine is situated between the anus and the terminal end of the ileum. It is shorter and less convoluted than the small intestine, consists of an initial segment called the cecum, after which we have the ascending, the transverse, the descending colon. This S shaped is the sigmoid colon, ending in the rectum and the anus. This is the macroscopic structure of the large intestine showing the hostrations. This is the epiploe, appendices epiploe. So, like any other part of the GIT, the wall of the colon has the basic layers as the small intestine, the innermost mucosa consisting of simple columnar epithelium, the intestinal glands, the lamina propria over here, and the muscularis mucosae here. The underlying submucosa contains the connective tissue layers, various blood vessels, and the huge lymphatic nodules as seen over here. So the two smooth muscle layers make up the muscularis externa, not visible in the picture here. The serosa, that is the visceral peritoneum, and the mesentery cover the transverse colon and the sigmoid colon. So there are several modifications in the colon wall that are distinguishing it from other regions of the digestive tube. Right. So this is, you can see, absorptive columnar cells dipping down to form the intestinal glands. You can see there are many empty looking cells over here. These are the goblet cells. You can see throughout the intestinal epithelium there are multiple and numerous goblet cells, which is a typical feature of the colon. Then we have the lamina propria over here. This is the muscularis mucosae delineating the mucosa, after which this is the submucosa. So the principal functions of the large intestine is to absorb water and the minerals from the indigestible material that was transported from the ileum of the small intestine to compact them into feces for elimination from the body. So because of these functions consistent with them, the epithelium of the large intestine contains the columnar absorptive cells, as over here you can see the lining epithelium, numerous mucus secreting goblet cells which produce mucus for lubricating the lumen of the large intestine to facilitate the passage of the feces, and no digestive enzymes are produced by the cells of the large intestine as seen in the stomach. Right. So a section of the undistended colon wall shows the temporary folds of the mucosa and the submucosa. They are temporary, mind you, not like the plica circularis in the small intestine that is permanent. The four layers are continuous with that of the small intestine, that is the mucosa, submucosa, the muscularis externa. You can see all the three layers over here. This is the muscularis externa. It has been thickened. Why they are thickened, we'll let you know. And the final layer is the serosa. So coming to the mucosa, like I said before, the lining epithelium contains numerous goblet cells. These are huge, these numerous goblet cells, simple columnar and continues down into the intestinal glands. The lamina propria is similar to that of the small intestine, containing abundant diffuse lymphatic tissue, as you can see over here. Now, villi are conspicuously absent in the colon, unlike the small intestine, but the lamina propria is indented by long intestinal glands. These glands over here, which are called the crypts of Lieberkühn, that are extending into the lamina propria to the muscularis mucosae. The submucosa over here are filled with aggregations of lymphatic cells, lymphatic nodules, as you can see, connective tissue, and the blood vessels. So you can see this is the muscularis externa, which is the atypical feature. The longitudinal layer of the muscularis externa is arranged into strips or bands of smooth muscle called the tinea coli. Right, so this is your tinea coli. This is the hallmark of the small intestine. Three things: the circulations, the tinea coli over here, and the epiploic appendices make up the typical features of the large intestine. In a histological section, it appears the same. We can see the thickened band called the tinea coli, typically found in the colon. This is the transverse section, and you can see the three bands of tinea coli, which are local thickenings of the longitudinal layer of the muscularis externa. As in the circular layer, the tinea coli is richly supplied by a blood vessel. The parasympathetic ganglion of the myenteric plexus over here are located between the muscle layers of the muscularis externa. The inner circular layer is continuous with the colon wall, whereas the outer muscle layer is condensed into three broad longitudinal bands called the tinea coli. These are the three bands over here. A very thin outer muscle layer is often discontinuous and is found between the tinea coli. The parasympathetic ganglion cells of the myenteric or the Auerbach's plexus are found between the two smooth muscle layers of the muscularis externa. So the final layer we have over here is the serosa, which is the connective tissue and adipose cells seen in the transverse section and the sigmoid colon. The ascending descending colon are retroperitoneal with their posterior surface lined with adventitia. So this is the IBCing view of the large intestine, and it should say that the most important feature is the absence of villi. The mucosa has numerous tubular glands or the crypts of Leibrechen, surface mucosa lined by columnar cells, and numerous goblet cells, lots of goblet cells. So a section of large intestine is easily distinguished from the small intestine because of the absence of villi, and from the stomach because of the presence of goblet cells which are absent in the stomach. The muscularis mucosae, here, this is the muscularis mucosae. Submucosa and the circular muscle coat are similar to that of the small intestine. However, the longitudinal muscle coat is gathered into three thick bands called the tinea coli. This is the tinea coli here. The longitudinal muscle is thin and interval between the tinea. We can also see the lymphatic nodule in the lamina propria. Now, so inflammatory bowel disorder. This is a healthy bowel in case of Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. In Crohn's disease, we have fissures, muscle hypertrophy, and it gives a cobblestone appearance. Whereas in ulcerative colitis, as the name suggests, ulcerative ulceration, colitis, inflammation of the colon. So we're going to find the ulcerations within the mucosa. Another disease is the celiac disease, that is an autoimmune disease, causes villus atrophy, crypt hyperplasia. This is the crypt hyperplasia, decreased number of goblet cells, increased intraepithelial lymphocyte in immune cells, and cytoplasmic vacuoles. So now coming to the appendix, very important slide and easily identifiable because of its large lymphatic aggregates seen in the submucosa with all four layers of the GIT. So coming to the innermost layer, we have the mucosa. If we compare the mucosa of the appendix with that of the colon, lining epithelium contains numerous goblet cells. Underlying lamina propria shows crypts of Leibrechen, and then there is the muscularis mucosae over here. Now, the intestinal glands in the appendix are less well developed compared to the colon, often spaced farther apart. If you see the slide over here, the glands are closer to each other. Here, the glands are placed farther apart than that in the colon, and it is characterized by diffuse lymphatic tissue in the lamina propria and often present in the submucosa as well. The lymphatic nodule with a germinal center are numerous and characteristic of the appendix. The muscularis externa will lack the tinea coli, contains of an inner circular and outer longitudinal layer. The parasympathetic ganglia of the myenteric plexus are located between the two layers. It is completely lined by serosa that can be seen as a single squamous cell mesothelium and adipose cells. So here is the IB-Sing view of the appendix showing the vermiform appendix, narrowest part of the GIT, seen as a tubular structure. Innermost layer of the mucosa lined by a simple columnar epithelium and goblet cells. Crypts are poorly formed. The scattered lymphocytes and aggregated nodules are present in the lamina propria and may extend into the next layer. The next layer, the submucosa, may show variable amount of the lymphatic nodules. The submucosa is surrounded by a smooth muscle layer, the muscularis externa, followed by serosa. Now the longitudinal muscle cord is complete and equally thick and round. So we have no tinea coli here. Tinea coli are conspicuously absent. So because of the presence of numerous lymphatic tissue, a huge, very typical and huge immune response can get from an inflammation of the appendix. This inflamed appendix, one of the most common surgical emergencies. So the upper part of the rectum, it is similar to that of the colon, except it lacks the tinea coli. It looks like the colon except the tinea coli. Coming to the anorectal junction, as we saw previously in the slide of the esophagus, this is the slide of the esophagus. We saw that the stratified squamous epithelium abruptly changed into columnar epithelium of the stomach. Similarly, the simple columnar epithelium of the anus abruptly changes back into stratified squamous epithelium at the anorectal junction. So the portion of the anal canal above the anorectal junction represents the lowermost part of the rectum. This part of the anal canal below the anorectal junction shows transition from simple columnar epithelium to the stratified epithelium of the skin. As you can see, now you can compare the slide of the esophageal stomach cardiac junction and the anorectal junction. So the mucosa is similar to that of the colon. Intestinal glands are somewhat shorter and spaced farther apart. As a result, lamina propria is more prominent, diffuse lymphatic tissue is more abundant, and solitary lymphatic nodules are more numerous. Muscularis mucosae and the intestinal glands of the digestive tract terminate in the vicinity of the anorectal junction. Here they are terminating here. Okay. And the lamina propria of the rectum is replaced by the dense, irregular connective tissue of the lamina propria of the anal canal. The submucosa, this is the submucosa that merges with this connective tissue of the lamina propria of the anal canal, is highly vascular. You can see the internal hemorrhoid plexus. The submucosa is highly vascular. Internal hemorrhoid plexus of veins lie in the mucosa of the anal canal, and blood vessels from this region continue into the submucosa of the rectum. The circular smooth muscle layer of the muscularis externa increases in thickness in the upper region. Can you see? This is such a huge thickened muscularis externa in the upper region of the anal canal, and here it forms the muscularis externa is forming the internal anal sphincter. Lower in the canal, the internal anal sphincter is replaced by skeletal muscle of the external anal sphincter. This becomes the external anal sphincter, and external to this is the skeletal levator ani muscle. Okay, so here we have the anal sphincters, so the hemorrhoid tissue. We can see the prolapsed internal hemorrhoids, and these are nothing but prolapsed veins. Okay, so to summarize, situated between the anus and the terminal end of the ileum is your colon, large intestine. It is shorter, less convoluted than the small intestine, consists of the cecum ascending transverse descending sigmoid sections. So it basically contains semi-fluid chyme that enters through the ileocecal valve. At its terminal end, the semi-fluid residue becomes hardened or semi-solid feces. The main function is the absorption of water and the electrolytes. Epithelium consists of simple columnar epithelium with increased number of goblet cells. The goblet cells produce mucus for lubricating the canal to facilitate the passage of feces. No enzymes or chemicals are produced, but enteroendocrine cells are present in the epithelium. No plica circularis, villi, or Paneth cells are present. The intestinal glands are somewhat deeper. Increased number of solitary lymphatic nodules with cells are present in the lamina propria. The muscularis externa contains inner circular layer and outer layer arranged in three strips called the tinea coli. The contractions of these tinea coli form the circulation or the rostra. So that's about it. Thank you.